can you put AI generated music in YouTube Content ID? Meaning, if you make music with Suno or Udio or any other AI music generator, you then take it and you put it in YouTube Content ID, and anybody uses those songs in their YouTube videos, those videos get copyrighted and you get the revenue from it. The answer is most likely yes. There is an asterisk on that. I hate YouTubers that ramble on, so short answer, most likely yes. Now let's get into the long answer, because you're probably wondering, like, all right, but why most likely? Why not 100%? This gets really technical, very, very tricky, and to be honest, I don't think, if I had to be honest, there's a clear-cut answer of 100% yes, but also there's not really a clear-cut answer of 100% no for a couple different reasons. Now, one, I have to say this. When it comes to AI music generators, there's a lot of them. Suno and Udio pretty much being the biggest, but there's a lot of them. And a lot of them have been caught taking copyrighted pieces of other songs and combining them. So you think of it like a puzzle, rather than, rather than making your own puzzle pieces, like most producers do when making music, they take all these snippets from other songs, combines them, then gives you that song. Of course, this is illegal because you're using copyrighted work to generate this song, and that does not work and is not allowed with YouTube Content ID. So I want to say that. That being said, at the time of this video, it being 2025 or January 2025, to timestamp it more specifically, most AI music generators are smart enough now where they don't do that anymore. They make everything, and I mean everything, from scratch. But I do want to say that just in case you're using an older one, or let's say it's an older song, or let's say maybe it's not that good of an AI music generator, remember, everything has to be completely original, right? You can't use copyrighted work and then claim it as your own. The second thing, and this is where it gets really tricky, is it depends upon the service. Now, what's interesting is when it comes to YouTube Content ID, some Content ID companies have different policies. This is kind of annoying, but I could see it, and it's one of those things that's just part of life, that sometimes things are just not as easy, right, as they should be. For example, some companies say, hey, if you use a sample from Splice or Splice Sounds, you cannot put your song in YouTube Content ID. And I can see the argument for that, because they're saying, hey, like, if you use this one vocal sample and someone else uses that same vocal sample, well, our Content ID detection system, or YouTube's, will detect it and claim someone else's song as actually yours, and that causes confliction. There are some YouTube Content ID companies that say, hey, if you use any royalty-free sample from Splice, for example, we will not allow you to put that song in our database. There are other companies that say, we don't care. If you want to use Splice and put that in our YouTube Content ID system, we don't care. So it depends company to company. Different companies have different policies. I could see maybe this year or next year, some companies saying, if you want to use AI music and put AI music or AI generated music in our system and use that for YouTube Content ID, you can do so. I can see other companies saying no to that. So keep in mind, this could change over time. I think the big confliction from my perspective is this. When it comes to most YouTube Content ID companies, these are the companies that review your music, then submit it to the YouTube Content ID database for it to be scanned across YouTube. For most of these companies, their big rule, which is not surprising, is this. You have had to make that song yourself. Some of them, even when you sign up, require you to do a screen recording of your computer screen of, let's say, your Ableton project to prove, like, hey, this is my song. You could see the breakdown, if I call it that, of it in this Ableton project, of the drums, the samples, the loops, the MIDI, the synths, the elements of my track. Like, some companies require you to do that when signing up to be part of a YouTube Content ID service. And so the big question that comes up, which is a bit more maybe even philosophical, I guess, than anything, is, did you actually make it? And that's a big thing a lot of companies want to know. Like, of course, if you didn't make it, they're not going to put it in YouTube Content ID, because that causes a lot of issues, because you didn't make it. It's technically not yours. And so this is where this, I think, kind of really ambiguous gray area really starts to form is, well, did you make it? And I think from my perspective, with everything I know about music distribution, with everything I know about a lot of AI music stuff now, because I've done a lot of music about AI music, and AI music generators, I'm going to say that if you use a reputable AI music generator like Sonor Udio that truly creates it from scratch, and it's yours, and you technically made it, and let's say you release it on DistroKid or another distributor, and so it's on stores. Like I have songs under the Infinite Lamp Shop, which is my AI artist. So if you go on Spotify or RDO or Deezer or Apple Music, you can listen to the Infinite Lamp Shop. With all that being said, if I release those songs, and I release music, and I generated them, and all that kind of stuff, can I put them in YouTube Content ID? I'd say most likely yes, and you probably can, because you created it. In a sense, you could argue if you actually created it or not. I think that's more of a philosophical debate, if anything. You've released it. You have, in a sense, maybe the rights to it or not. That's also another debate. And this is where things get really, really tricky. But at the end of the day, if you created it and you're releasing it on DistroKid as as your own song and everything, you probably will be able to put it in YouTube Content ID. And I don't really see it having any issues, because as long as there's no copyrighted material in that song itself, as long as it's truly original, everything's made from scratch and everything's created from scratch, you probably could put it in YouTube Content ID and not have any issues. Then again, I can't say that 100%, because I know this is a question a lot of people have. YouTube Content ID, I know, is a very hot topic. I've done a lot of videos about it that basically, and I'll be honest too, as a side note, I personally suggest for a lot of beginning musicians, don't put your music in YouTube Content ID, because if you think about it, if a big YouTuber wants to use your song, now the revenue from the video goes to you. So they're not really going to use your music. If your music is not in YouTube Content ID, then what can happen is a big YouTuber, or let's say somebody on another platform like Twitch or whatever, doesn't have to worry about a DMCA takedown. They don't have to worry about copyright strikes or claims and all this kind of legal stuff. And they say, hey, we really love your song. Can we use it in a video? You could say, yeah, use it. Just post a link in the description. And I think if anything, you're going to make more money. I mean, it does depend, I will say, but you're probably going to make more money, in my opinion, from that promotion, people hearing about your song, than the money you might make from that YouTube video, from YouTube Content ID, from the copywriting of that video. Granted, every situation is a bit different. Maybe sometimes copywriting a big video could actually get you more money. It does depend situation to situation. So I do want to say that, and that also relates to AI music, that, if let's say you're really going hard on this AI music thing, is it worth it to put in YouTube content, and is it worth it to put in the YouTube Content ID database? I don't know. Take DistroKid, for example. In case you didn't know, you have to spend $5 a year for every song for it to be in the YouTube Content ID system. I think you're going to lose money if you're doing DistroKid's version of YouTube Content ID. I think you're going to lose money because you have to spend money out of pocket. Other systems are different. There are other companies out there that say, hey, we're not going to take any money from you, but any money that you make from YouTube Content ID, we're going to take 30%, you get 70%. It's a 30-70 split. And the idea is, yeah, they're taking 30%, and you're only getting 70%, so it's a pretty decent cut. But the advantage of that is you don't spend any money out of pocket, meaning it's impossible for you to lose money with some of these Content ID services. It does depend, like I said, service to service. This is a way trickier mess, and that's why I'm trying to simplify it as best I can on this video. Even though it seems like I'm rambling, there's a lot of moving parts with this. But at the end of the day, I think it really comes down to this. Like I said, as long as there's no copyright material, and as long as it's truly original and everything, as long as, like, say, you created it, and like, say, I might even say if you're releasing it on Spotify via DistroKid or Ditto or Lander or these other distribution services, if you want to put it in YouTube Content ID, I think you'd be able to. And I don't think you'd have too many issues. The one thing I'd say, though, as a matter of perspective, like I said, is ask yourself, depending on the way the payments work with this one particular company you might go with, is it actually worth it or not? Because if you're going to be releasing AI music on DistroKid and you want to put it in YouTube Content ID, I think it's not worth it, and I think you're going to lose money. Maybe some other services, it actually is more worth it. Like I said earlier, where they don't charge you right away, they just take a cut out of your earnings. That seems a bit more worth it. But then again, like I said, I have a video listed below in the description. I suggest watching it. At the end of the day, though, to me, the question isn't, can you post AI music, put AI music in the YouTube Content ID database? I think you can. I think most likely, yes. The bigger question for me is it really worth it? And should you? Which is why I suggest watching the video listed below in the description, where I basically talk about why I don't think, in general, for AI music or human-made music, the YouTube Content ID service is really that worth it.